Today we're playing with marbles. See, we are just right now in the process of getting a gather. It's where you are melting the rod down, the glass rod, to form, basically to form a little ball, or a big ball in this case, of glass, molten glass, at the end. And from here we're just going to usually shape it by eye. As long as you're constantly moving the glass, you notice I'm spinning. I don't know if you can see my right hand, but it's always moving, always spinning the glass. After I get the desired size, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mush it onto my marver, and the marver is basically just this carbon or graphite block here. It's a nice flat surface, and the graphite is very, very, very resistant to temperature. I mean, graphite I don't think starts to react until about 5,000 degrees, and right now we're a few thousand degrees away from that, so that's what allows me to mush it on the graphite. But also, the carbon is not it's not cold. It's not going to thermally shock the glass like the stainless here would. If I pressed it on that, the metal sucks the heat out of everything very, very quickly, and that's what we don't want to do, because if you suck the heat out of glass too quickly, it will crack, and you'll get thermal shock, thermal cracks in there. So again, I still don't have the damn filter for this camera, so you guys can see a little bit better. But so I'm going to turn my flame down a little bit. And that looks almost good. A little bit off. It's really important to always try to keep it symmetrical, because if it gets unbalanced, then everything you do from that point on is going to be really tough to fix, to keep it symmetrical. But since we're just doing a marble, it's not really the end of the world. So I'm going to mush it down now. So that's called a Maria. Why, I don't know. I'm sure because glass working is really popular in Italy, and it has been for many, many years. And that's probably where the name comes from. But that's a really nice flat surface. So from here, what we're going to try to do is I have a few different colors that I haven't tried before. And hopefully I'm going to be able to successfully add a few of these colors. I'm not even bothering doing stringers, making the colored glass into thinner strands, because I'm just going to I'm going to use the existing stringers I have, but this is the only color. This is kind of neat. I don't know how this is going to turn out, but this color is called Illuminati, and it is it's actually radioactive. No joke. It has uranium in it, so under a black light it actually looks pretty cool. It glows. They have some other like phosphorus glowing stuff, but so I'm just trying to heat the end up to melt it, and I'm going to put a big dot, a big dab of it right onto this Maria. Decent. So now that the colors have been added, you can see all those little glowing dots. Each one of those is a different color. I'm trying to work this in a neutral flame, which basically means it's kind of an even mixture of gas and oxygen. An oxidizing flame would be adding oxygen, and a reducing flame would be reducing the amount of oxygen. And so you'd have a higher gas ratio, the gas to oxygen ratio. So these little guys are going to cook down into dots. Ideally, they're going to cook down into dots. Sometimes I run it, I don't know why, but sometimes I run into these weird problems that no one else seems to get. My dots get all crooked and they start going out of kilter there. But so I'm going to heat this whole thing up. And the idea is that I'm going to heat the Maria portion of it up as well. I'm trying to keep, you know, everything hot at the same time. You don't want to cook the colors. You can, certain colors are very, very sensitive to temperature. Too hot and you'll turn the colors gray, so you get these beautiful vibrant colors like these guys. I mean, that's a really nice, I think it's called poppy? Anyway, so too much heat and you can bake it, and it'll come out all this ugly gray. So we're going to do this for a few minutes. And here we are several minutes later, and you can see there's a little bit of progress there. They've melted in a little bit, still a little bit more to go. It takes a while, you know. It's people don't realize that. I mean, for a simple marble, probably one of the easiest things that you can make, it takes you don't just throw it together in 5 minutes. You know, these things can literally take hours. Are we there yet? So I added more dots. I mushed it again, and unfortunately it's a little bit off center, and I'm gonna have to try to fix that, otherwise everything is going to be skewed, and it's a difficult thing to do, and I may not be able to do it, but as with everything, it's not the end of the world. So we're getting there. It's taking quite a while because there's a lot of glass on the end of this, so you're heating up. Every time you mush it down, you have to reheat this big mass of liquid, basically, because glass is just a super cold liquid. So it's like heat and reheat again and reheat. And right now we're gonna punty up. Oh, we're gonna see. Normally, if you weren't in a rush like I am right now, I'm almost out of oxygen, so this is I'm barely gonna be able to finish this. But instead of just sticking a cold rod right into the fire and having it pop like it just did, what you want to do is you want to heat it up out here in a gentle flame, because right closer. See, the camera's in the way right now, so this is pretty difficult. I have to get this rod on. Trying to keep it straight. Now we're going to have to cut it off. So I didn't really set up for this. I mean, my creativity has been kind of lacking lately, and I just kind of decided to sit down and just make something. You know, I really didn't know what I was going to make, so I always go back to my default, the silly marble. And they're usually quick and easy. When you do smaller ones, you can bang them out in 20, 30 minutes. But the larger ones, and this is a little bit more complex. I've done a few different or new tricks that I've kind of picked up. I'm not going to say what they are unless they actually work. But yeah, you don't always what you expect to get isn't always what you get. So I'm cutting the main rod loose, and I'm going to pick some of that. There's that. I can't say it's excess because I could probably melt that right back into the marble. But I think what I'm going to do is, because this marble might be a little bit too large if I leave that on, so I'm going to pick a little bit of it off. Now I know that you're not picking up a lot of this on the camera, but I'm just kind of going through this to show you the different steps. So I'm going to shut it off and I'll come back in a minute. So the final step before we go into the kiln is we have a look at it, make sure that there are no tool marks on it from anything that was touching. Now, this is called a marble mold, and despite its name, I mean, you do very little shaping in the marble mold. The mold is kind of pretty much just for what you see here. It's also as a sizing tool. See how large your marble is. So there you have it. That is our marble, and we're going to throw that in the kiln. You can't really see the colors that well right now, but as soon as it fires in the kiln, it should be better. And there's Illuminati in there, which is a kind of it's the uranium, the glow-in-the-dark stuff, which would be not glow-in-the-dark, but glow under black light. We have some blues and some purples, and hopefully the colors weren't cooked out because I did have to fire it up a little bit. And there we have it. This is the little added bonus at the end of the video. A treat if you watch the entire thing. I'm just screwing around right now. I have about 200 psi of oxygen left, so I figured I should just try something different. See what I can do with this. I'm just screwing around. I just laid a bunch of stringers on the outside of my blank. My blow tube, and I gave it a little, heated it up, gave it a little twist. Trying to condense it down a little bit now. This is like where the art comes in. It's really, really, really tough. It's really tough to get this to be consistent with this. It's hard to read the walls, like you're supposed to be able to tell the wall thickness, and it's really tough to do. At least for me it is. So it's just a trial and error. Unfortunately, practice, practice, practice over and over and over again. Wrong ones. Oops, that didn't That wasn't supposed to happen. Oh, fuck. Oh well. That was kind of just a trial anyway, but yeah. Well, now I can't touch it. So it's going to explode in a few seconds when it cools down. Just like my joints here do. When you attach a blow tube to your, what's going to be your blank, always get cracks on the joints, and that's because they need to be. You have to keep them hot. So I'm just going to close this up. Close the end up. And put it in the kiln. Maybe use it again later.